It's at the 17th CITES conference currently underway in Sandton, Johannesburg, have rejected an ivory trade mechanism, a recommendation by South Africa, Namibia and Zimbabwe to adopt a so-called decision-making mechanism for future trade in ivory has been thrown out following a heated debate.
Yeah, Burkina Faso, Kenya, Republic of Congo and Chad are against the proposal. The plight of elephants are under the spotlight in Johannesburg. The proposal from the Secretariat to extend the mandate to the CITES Standing Committee to continue the debate on decision-making mechanism failed to achieve the required two-thirds majority. In 2007, CITES initiated negotiations for a process of trade in ivory, which could lead the way forwards towards the reopening of international trade in ivory.
Debate over the years became protracted and provoked considerable criticism. Let's cross to SABC reporter Damale Maghlade, who's live for us at the Sandton Convention Centre. Damale, it seems like those who wanted some sort of trade in rhino horn and ivory are now shot down at CITES. What else is happening on the ground tonight?
Well, thank you very much, Francis. Well, here at CITES, the commissions and the various presentations on conservation continue. And just a few moments ago, in fact, I was at one particular presentation that included Interpol, officials from Interpol here with officials from Kenya. In fact, the environmental minister of Kenya there. And the presentation was all about exactly how indigenous and local communities can play a key role in conservation. Now, Interpol's presentation was all about exactly how they are tracking and trying to infiltrate, break down, and possibly bring to book, as in help to prosecute the various criminal syndicates that are involved in the illicit trade of ivory specifically. It was very interesting to hear how the various speakers debated and deliberated on how communities have in the past been overlooked as policies are drawn. And now Interpol is coming and saying, no, we are now going to look at being hands-on, so to speak, by training, upskilling and involving local communities who have been playing a conservation role all along anyway into a new program whereby they would then be effectively agents of Interpol, as some of the delegates noted, in trying to bring these syndicates to book. I am now joined by Tom Milliken, who's from the Elephant and Rhino Program, leader of Traffic. Mr. Milliken, Interpol's program of effectively turning local communities into policing forums and policing bodies to fight poachers, is it sustainable?
It's absolutely imperative. If we're going to save wildlife, it really depends on the people who live with wildlife, and that's the African communities that are on the ground. The problem is now most of the ivory leaving this continent is being controlled by foreigners. Asian syndicates are embedded all over the landscape, and they are the ones who are taking your natural resources and sending them off to countries thousands of miles away. You will pay the costs in the future, and if your communities are there as an active force to prevent poaching and to unravel these syndicates, we'll all benefit.
Right, but one of the points that was raised and a question from the floor was the fact that it seems that Interpol is and these initiatives are focusing mainly to the tail of the dragon, if I can call it that, use an analogy, and the heads, which are the criminal masterminds, no one's going after them. Do you think maybe this is a sustainable way to try and end this process?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, and the reason that they're probably not going after them is that a lot of, one of the modus operandi of transnational criminal syndicates is to really, line the pockets of your political and economic elites so that whatever they want to do, they can still do it. And local communities are going to suffer, the world conservation community is going to suffer, and so are elephants. We're at record levels of poaching throughout Africa and record levels of illegal trade. Most of it is going to China, but also Vietnam is coming on strong. Your rhino horns in this country, they're going to Vietnam. China's jumping in on that. But the people who are moving those are living in your communities. right here in Johannesburg, other places. Large consignments of ivory and rhino horn are going out all the time. These people have often bought protection.
And looking forward, though, with the current rate of illicit trade, some of the pro-legalization, if I can call it, lobby groups are saying that if you legalize trade and you lift the moratorium, then you can regulate the markets and basically protect wildlife. Is this an argument? Because some of the conservationists are saying that when you do that, then it'll be all systems go.
Well, we really have to look at conservation finance, and I absolutely understand the motivation of African countries to try to get resources to protect their wildlife and live up to the mandate. The problem is that these criminal syndicates have been so successful in mining the natural resources in Africa that they have storage that exists between where your supply is here and where the end-use markets are. And because they have that storage there, they're able to control the whole dynamic. In other words, if you poach fewer elephants here in Africa than they actually need to sell, they just go into their storage. And if more comes in, they can store it. And that's because the price is going up by double-digit figures every single year. And so this is why we need transnational cooperation. South Africa should be lobbying China and other countries. We need your help in law enforcement. Your citizens are part of the criminal syndicates that are impacting us. We want to invite you in to assist us when we arrest a Chinese. We want you to come in and interrogate them. We want you to come in and figure out the trade chains that they are using. And in this way, only with this international cooperation, South Africa has to invite China in, China will respond. But so far, the invitations aren't going, and I have to wonder if it's because the economic and political elites are also part of this.
Thank you very much. That was Mr. Tom Milliken, just giving us a picture of the broader dynamics involved within the syndicates and the trade in illicit wildlife trophies, if I can call it that, including ivory, which is one of the key issues and the key topics at the deliberations here today. With that, it's back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Damala Makhlaude, live at the CITES Conference of the Parties being held in the Sandton Convention Center.